Welcome to this part of another soul-gripping testimony, 18 Years with Lucifer. This testimony may have visually disturbing scenes, therefore viewer discretion is advised. Please note that this is just one part in a series of videos of this particular testimony, so if you have the stomach for it, feel free to check out the entire playlist, 18 Years with Lucifer, here on this YouTube channel for full understanding of this supernatural journey. My grandmother's name was Testimonies. She was a racial mix of Indian, Rwandese, and Ugandan. Adoniah's plan included initiating me into the occult at an early age through a series of minor initiations, which included covenanting my hair, fingernails, and clothing to Lucifer. Adoniah was among those occult members referred to as the Marines who have power over the water spirits in the marine kingdom. The vast majority of humanity has no idea that a spiritual world even exists, leave alone the fact that it heavily influences the affairs of mankind. Ephesians 2:2, wherein in times past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now works in the children of disobedience. Followers of Christ should understand what Jesus meant in his prayer to the Father in John 17:14. I have given them thy word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. 15, I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but that thou shouldest keep them from the evil. 16, they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. 17, sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. It is the knowledge of truth that separates, sanctifies you, the followers of Christ, from the rest of the world who go about their own ways, sleeping through their lives. Testimonies had great authority as a bride of Satan and a queen in the occultic world. She ruled spiritually over the locality of eastern Uganda. Now, Testimonies had a powerful demon living inside of her. This demon in her was feminine, and its name was Naudo. Testimonies' half-brother was related to her through their mother. They had the same mother but different fathers. A male demon lived inside of her brother, and this male demon's name was Mukama. The demon Mukama in her brother was the husband of the demon Naudo, who lived in Adoniah. As a result, these two were lovers committing incest. It is not known whether Testimonies' husband was aware of her relationship with her half-brother, but by the time her husband died, he and Testimonies were sleeping in different rooms but in the same house. Testimonies told her husband that the demon Naudo had instructed her to stop sleeping with him and that they should sleep in separate rooms. Testimonies' husband, also heavily influenced by the occult, agreed. In those days, there were only a few two-storied houses in the whole of Jinja, and Testimonies' husband owned one of the storied homes where some of his wives lived with their children. He was a teacher and an agricultural officer working with the Ugandan government. His name was John Kasada. It is not known how many wives he had, but he had over 20 children, most likely closer to 30. John Kasada and Testimonies had 2 children. My father married Bernadette, my mother. In September of 1990, and I, Erica Belinda Mukisa, am their firstborn child. I was Testimonies' favorite because I was the heir of Testimonies' occult position as a queen of the marine kingdom and a powerful sorcerer in Lucifer's kingdom. Testimonies had the ability to leave her body and astral project into the spiritual world. During her astral projections, she would leave her body in the care of a priestess, who was my aunt. This priestess' job was to guard Testimonies' body while she astral projected, because if anyone was to move her body even slightly, while her soul was astral projecting into the realm of the spirit, it would cause her silver cord to break. She'd be stuck in the spirit realm and she would soon after die. The scriptures tell us about the silver cord in Ecclesiastes 12:6. Yes, remember your Creator now while you are young, before the silver cord of life snaps and the golden bowl is broken. Don't wait until the water jar is smashed at the spring and the pulley is broken at the well. 7, for then the dust will return to the earth, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. My grandmother would have been unable to re-enter her body had anybody moved her physical body during astral projection. Astral projection is very risky, and many have ended up dying in their sleep as a result of their bodies being moved during astral projection, or if the sorcerer's spirit enters into the body of another person and that person is being prayed for by someone who knows about the breaking of the silver cord in prayer, the sorcerer can die. I was supposed to be more powerful than Testimonies because I would have been the fourth generation of sorcery in Lucifer's kingdom, and every generation is always more powerful than the previous one. While it is not known exactly how powerful Testimonies was, it was a well-known fact that people in very influential positions from around the world would consult with her for solutions to their problems. Her patrons included politicians, senior government officials, barren women, wives seeking the affection of their husbands, husbands seeking the affection of their wives, the sick, witches, those who wanted to bewitch others, the poor, the rich, musicians, actors, people in the entertainment world who desired to be rich and famous, pretty much anyone who needed powers that were beyond their own ability to acquire. Everyone who came brought simple things like goats, clothing. If intending to bewitch someone, one would bring something belonging to the person being bewitched as a point of contact, etc. People came to Testimonies for power, and with power one could get money or whatever they wanted. When they got what they wanted, they always came back to her with a gift to say thank you. Needless to say, Testimonies was always receiving gifts from satisfied customers. One extraordinary case that comes to mind is my uncle who came to Testimonies seeking the power to get wealth as he was a very poor man. He came to Testimonies and pleaded with her to help him escape poverty. So she prepared herbs and gave them to him to put in his food and told him to have a bath with some other herbs, and she also bathed his 3 children in herbs and recited some incantations. She then told him that by the time he returned to see her, he would be a rich man. Within 6 months, the man returned to see Adronaya to ask what he could bring to her as a gift to say thank you for the success he was now enjoying. He explained that ever since he visited her, things had begun to work out marvelously for him. Adronaya asked me to leave the room and then had a secret meeting with him. After their meeting, my uncle left and returned that same evening with 2 black female goats. These goats were perfectly black without a single spot on them. They were tied with ropes around their necks. These goats were then tied outside Testimonies' house in the compound. Testimonies was so pleased with Uncle's gift that she took water and put it in her mouth and then spat that water on the 4 tires of Uncle's car and said he would have more blessings and more cars. Being about 5 or 6 years old at the time, I was excited to see the 2 goats tied to a tree, so I decided to stay outside and play while observing the new goats. Now I loved to dance, so I went into the house and brought out a small radio and began teaching my little playmates how to dance. As they were dancing to a certain song, a most unusual thing began to happen. One of the children dancing began to shout while pointing at the goat in excitement. "Sister, look, the goats are singing and dancing to the music." The 2 goats, which were tied outside, had each gotten up on their 2 feet and were dancing and singing to the music, and surprisingly, they were singing in key. Now, as unbelievable as this may seem, it is absolutely true. This was sorcery. As we began laughing and bringing attention to these dancing and singing goats, Evans, my younger brother, ran into the house to call my grandmother to come see the dancing goats, thinking that she would be happy and surprised to see them too. Instead, she was furious. She commanded us children to get into the house and sleep. Evans began to cry and demanded to be taken home. So our father Emmanuel was called to come and pick us up to take us home. After we went home, grandmother came over to our home with boiled meat for the entire family to eat. After the family ate this meat, we all began to vomit. From that day, I knew that grandmother had given us human meat to eat because that goat meat was not normal. Everyone became sick after eating grandmother's meat. During every full moon, my grandmother would always leave the house and come back around 4 a.m. in the morning. On one particular full moon, as I was in the house with my younger brother Evans, my grandmother left the house. We heard funny noises outside of the house. It sounded like dogs growling at each other. When we stepped out, we saw something so unusual it's difficult to explain. We saw the moon had come closer to the point that it was just slightly above the roof of the house, and it was so hot and shined so bright that we were sweating. The moon had somehow created crop circles in the compound. Even the trees were stiff and nothing was shaking. The only thing I could see moving was my grandmother and an even older neighbor than my grandmother, who was a sorcerer also running around those circles like the wind. The only thing I could think of at the time was that maybe grandmother was chasing our neighbor around the circles. The amazing thing is that they were running in perfect circles and creating these crop circle designs as they ran at an impossible speed. This was an old lady who would walk bent over during the day due to old age and sickness. To me, as a child, it looked like my grandmother and the neighbor were competing against each other, or that they were fighting in some way. So as a child, I began to cheer my grandmother. "Yay, grandmother, you're winning! Beat her! You're faster than her! Grandmother, run!" And when she saw me cheering her on, she ran out of the circle and disappeared in the wind, and our neighbor seemed to follow her and disappeared as well. My auntie, the priestess, commanded us to enter the house, saying that should anything happen to grandmother, it would be our fault. We could not sleep that night because I thought that the moon had swallowed grandmother. She returned the next morning at around 8 a.m. with the old neighbor, her fellow sorcerer. She was very resentful and unfriendly. Then later in the evening, she called me, and using a razor blade, she cut my arm, and wrote the number 7 and then smeared some herbs in it, and then said that every year her master, Lucifer, chooses 7 stars, and I would be among the 7 stars. This meant that I would be among Lucifer's 7 wives, and the herb was to protect me from my enemies. Also, all those who tried to send me witchcraft would be struck by lightning. Then she got some herbs and bathed me in them and said that everything I see I should never speak about it. From that day, even if I wanted to tell my parents what I saw, my tongue would be held by some invisible force and I could never reveal any secret. Evans innocently refused to bathe in the herbs. All of these herbal baths, cuts under the skin, etc., were minor initiations into the occultic world. One night, as we were at my grandmother's place in the evening, we were returning things into the house as we were planning to go and rest. Alice, our housemaid, who was later adopted by my parents because she was an orphan, saw 2 lights approaching us from behind the house. When she went to check, she realized that the 2 lights were actually the reflection of the eyes of a leopard. When she realized that it was a leopard, she shouted and told us to get into the house quickly because there was leopard coming our way. So we entered and locked ourselves in the house. As an innocent child, I told my dad that there was a leopard in the compound and that I knew he would kill it because he's strong. As a child, I really loved my dad, and I trusted him, and I knew that Dad could do anything for me. This situation prompted my grandmother to tell us a story about her childhood. She told us that one day she and her sisters visited her auntie during the school holidays. During their visit, a big snake came to their auntie's home. To their surprise, her auntie gave the snake porridge. This snake came every day, and they would feed it on porridge when they went back home after the holidays. The sister decided to share with her parents what she saw the auntie doing. "Daddy, auntie gave us snake porridge, and it used to come every day and drink our porridge." Right after she said those words, she dropped dead, and that was the end of her. This sounded like a warning not to tell our parents what we saw because we would die if we did. She also told us a story about one of her clients who was barren, and she helped her conceive through her witchcraft. And when she conceived, she told her to return when it was time to give birth, and she would be her birth attendant, which she did. She was in the company of her sister during her time of delivery. When she gave birth, my grandmother was her birth attendant. After she gave birth, she went into a deep sleep. The baby who had just been born stood up and went and bathed himself. This was a demonic baby. As he was taking back the basin after showering, his auntie, the mother's sister, entered the room. She was so shocked at what she saw that she exclaimed, "Oh, I'm dead!" And the baby said, "As you have spoken, so be it." And the auntie collapsed and died later on at the hospital. The baby, after saying those words, wrapped himself up in a baby shawl and began breastfeeding and later slept beside his mother. Grandmother named the baby after her spiritual husband, Mukama, meaning God. Now, I cannot verify if this story is actually true. I just remember my grandmother telling me about it. The information I am giving about the kingdom of darkness are my own experiences. Any stories from my grandmother concerning sorcery or past events may or may not be true. My aim is to reveal some of the hidden operations of the enemy in obedience to the Word of God in Ephesians 5:11. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. All I can do is testify of the things which I have seen and heard. The following day, after Grandmother had told us this story, I went to use the outside toilet, and while I was in the restroom, I heard my little brother calling me and telling me not to come out of the outhouse because there was a leopard outside. So he picked up a stone to throw at the leopard so that it does not eat his sister, and as he was going to throw it, Grandmother out of nowhere grabbed his hand and warned him never to harm the leopards because these leopards were our friends. Adronaya then called for me to come out of the toilet and assured me that nothing would harm me. She said that the leopards were keeping us safe, so I came out and the leopard walked away and did me no harm. Shortly after that, on the same day, we went and had lunch and I went to have a bath. The bathroom was outside the house as well. While I was bathing, I heard children screaming and running in terror. They were being chased by the same leopard. These were children from the neighborhood who had come to steal my grandmother's passion fruits. This leopard chased them to their house, and they locked themselves in their house, and this leopard stood guard outside the house for 3 good days while they hid themselves in terror. After this scenario, these neighbors decided to sell that plot of land to Grandmother and moved away quickly. There are so many things I witnessed as a child, but let me skip to my first major occult initiation. If you have come this far, chances are high that you are loving this video. Please do me a favor and hit both that subscribe and like button to help this message to spread far and wide. Also, don't hesitate to check out the rest of the playlist, 18 Years with Lucifer, right here on this YouTube channel. Thank you for supporting the Wake Up channel. God bless you.